Skylanders Academy Season 2. A season that I was both dreading and hoping at the same time. Mostly because I was expecting for something to come out. And I got both. I didn't get it, and I got it at the same time. You'll see what I'm talking about later. But let's not waste any time. I have to get on with this review. So here are my thoughts of each individual episode of Skylanders Academy Season 2. So let's get on with it. We start out Season 2 with Spyro realizing that he doesn't have superpowers and trying to force a superpower out from himself by how can I say, making up some ridiculous ideas and also trying to get himself into danger in order to force it out. This came out because he was on a TV interview where all the other Skylanders said that, hey, I can do this, and Spyro say, hey, I'm a dragon, I can fly, I can breathe fire. And the reporter's like, yeah, like any other dragon. I don't know why it was kind of like the fuss, because in my mind, probably the ones that has superpowers are technically Stealth Elf and Eruptor. Pop Fizz, he's pretty much smart and he can do alchemy. Well, smart for something very crazy, and I don't consider that a superpower. And Jetpack, most of his skills are mainly because he uses his vacuum gun and all this stuff. So that's not a superpower. That's not a superpower. So unless you can count him like being like Gear from the Static Shock animated show. But nevertheless, that's technically how this season starts. And at the same time, somebody steals Master Eon's flying podium, and they must find out what's going on. I really like how the season starts in this case, because it gives out a little bit of a crazy but doubtful idea of Spyro, kind of doubting himself, thinking that he's not special when actually he is. We see it's kind of like a crazy vulnerability that he has, considering that they made him a little bit of a narcissistic guy. And we also have a small subplot that involves Chaos now joining the Doom Raiders, trying to rescue Chompy Mage Puppet, in which somehow it ended up in what was it, in the prison, and because apparently the puppet has has all the information of the Doom Raiders, they go to rescue him, and at the same time they just kind of ignore, they chide Chaos because, well, they think that he's nothing important. But almost at the end of the episode, it shows that his powers are growing because of the effects of the book from last season. But this is fine and dandy, but we were more interested on the Spyro shenanigans. There were some ideas that actually give out a big chuckle out of it. Actually, there are kind of like two instances where I will always remember this episode. The first instance is that Stealth Elf kind of say that, Spyro, maybe the whole thing and this worry is because you're always hanging out with people that they're not your type. So why don't you try out with another dragon? So Spyro's like, I went to this other dragon named Flashwing, but she's too full of herself. He just tried to talk to her, but unfortunately she was just so fixated on her reflection on the pond that they couldn't even talk. And the second thing is that almost at the end of the episode, which I will not reveal exactly who was the one who stole the podium, but it goes into some crazy, some funny shenanigan that I won't reveal. But I will reveal that Spyro realizes that his scales are kind of impenetrable to lots of damage, like many dragons, of course. But the thing that kind of got me my attention is that when they realized that Spyro, with astonishment, he just says, "Oh, shut the front door." And here's the funny story. I thought it was something very original, but then a few weeks after I originally saw the season 2 of Skylanders Academy, I saw this movie with Justin Long named Tusk. And he says the exact same thing. He says, "Oh, shut the front door." I was like, so they deliberately put this line in Skylanders Academy so that we can know that, oh yeah, that's Justin Long. that was a little bit, I don't know if that's coincidental or an Easter egg, but it caught my attention. I know that it's ridiculous, but man. But one important thing that I have to say is that after Spyro realizing about his scales, he becomes a little bit more interested to know more about his species, about himself. And he just wants to know about his ancestors. That makes Master Aeon worried for some reason. Oh, and also, Glumshanks enter community college. A stealth elf episode. Yippee, hooray. No, I'm not. The big reason I don't like this episode is because it's a stealth elf episode. Look, I'm not trying to be a contrarian. I'm not. I definitely don't like Stealth Elf. And her episodes where she's kind of like the focus are really bland and very boring. I never liked this character. So what makes you think that I'm gonna like an episode where Stealth Elf is challenged by some big troll guy, another elf who looks more evil than herself? He is a guy named Berserker, and because Stealth Elf thinks that she needs to train to become more powerful for him, Master Aeon tells her that she must go to find her idol, which is a genie slash elf slash ninja called Ninjini. And when she goes there, she is kind of feeling that she's not good enough. She passed her prime, but Stealth Elf saying that no, you can do it. Okay, I'm gonna train you. Where do I begin with this episode? Maybe the fact that I really hate that it tries to be ambiguous, saying that with this lesson saying that, hey, Stealth Elf, you have to go to Ninjini so you can learn to be the ninja. They try to push the joke by saying that, okay, what the hell does that mean? And at the end of the episode, it doesn't even explain what the hell means to be the ninja. And I'll tell you what's a ninja. It's a silent assassin from Japan. Well, technically now it's not considered about Japan, but it's obviously that ninjas are kind of not exactly the best character to write about. I mean, there are exceptions sometimes, but they always kind of miss the point that ninjas are supposed to be mysterious. They're supposed to be silent assassins. And a ninja, it doesn't have to be about skills or something like that, or the weapons that they use. It's about what they are. It's kind of like their profession. In their case, silent killers. And unfortunately, Stealth Elf doesn't do that. She's not. I don't think that she's kind of like a ninja. Laced Berserker, who he's kind of like this wrestler crazy guy and self-proclaiming and shouting because I am crazy. Alright, let's talk about Ninjini. She unfortunately comes at the same spectrum of blandness and boringness as Stealth Elf. Maybe because the blandness on Stealth Elf is contagious. But I'll give it this. I like the kind of like the backstory that she's a genie that's separated from her own lamp. Without someone wishing it. And of course that leads to the Doom Raiders finding her lamp and capturing her. And there is a funny moment that she has to get to to concede 3 wishes from the Doom Raider, but that ultimately fails. Although I'm kind of mesmerized to say that nobody kind of I don't. I never asked. I was wondering why Ninjini can't destroy the lamp, because at least in Return of Jafar, the Aladdin sequel movie, they at least established that if you destroy the lamp, the genie goes with it. But they don't do it there, so they kind of decide to hide that lamp and they just decide to keep it. That's a kind of like a nitpick. There is a little bit of a B plot that involves Hugo. Yeah, Hugo looking for something that Master Eon ordered. And he encounters Berserker who tries to eat him. Not before he gives him the comfy chair torture of fatting him up with cake and trying to send him holiday letters to his mother. That's technically what I can say. Not much I have to say, but except that how lame the episode is with having Stealth Elf just training, and when she finally proves that she learned from the master, it's clearly shown that she hasn't learned anything new. She doesn't do anything new, nothing spectacular, so I think that Stealth Elf quest was useless because she was already good to begin with, and why do we care for something? I mean, this could have been easily fixed if we had a scene in which Stealth Elf attack a Berserker and she loses. But it didn't do that, so why should we care? Oh yeah, and the ending is revealed that Hugo wanted to take a fossil of a dragon's tail that looks similar to Spyro. That raises a little bit more suspicious on Aeon. Yes! That is the moment I was waiting for ever since Season 1 and anything related to Spyro. I'll tell this under a get-go. The episode Return to Cinder is, up to this date, my favorite episode of Skylanders Academy as a whole. I absolutely love this episode. I really, really love this episode. Remember that I said that I was expecting something to come out? That is Cinder. Because I'm a big fan of Legend of Spyro. I love Legend of Spyro. And I think that people should open their eye and realize the potential of the elements brought in the Legend of Spyro. Because when you have Spyro, Cinder, and the bad guy from Legend of Spyro, Malefor, these three became kind of like the core element for a Spyro game. Okay, let's add Sparks, of course, but Sparks is kind of like Navy the Fairy. Speaking of which, and this is why I always consider Spyro, Cinder, and Malefor kind of like an alternate version of Zelda, Link, and Ganondorf. Yeah, it's kind of like Legend of Zelda. And when Skylanders came out, I was worried that they're gonna scrap that, and luckily they didn't. But like Spyro, they didn't recognize enough to know that this is something important. And Skylanders Academy also brings me back that dread. But luckily this episode came out, and I wish they could have more of what this is about, of this element. I wish they could expand it a little bit more, but apparently Activision, they just wanted to give it room for the other Skylanders, but I'll get to that in a second. But anyway, let's talk about Return to Cinder, which is, again, what became my favorite episode of the whole series. In this one, Master Aeon introduced to the Skylanders to Cinder, a new recruit who's going to take the entrance test for the Academy. And Spyro is overly excited because she's a dragon. And, well, he decides to become her advisor and decides to train her. But Cinder is not exactly in fighting spirit. She's kind of shy. She feels like she doesn't have to use her powers to destroy evil. She's kind of like Mickey in a way, and in a way it's cute. It's kind of cute. And the best thing about this episode is that you kind of notice, especially, that Spyro and Cinder have a great chemistry. It doesn't matter if it's from another timeline or another game. Even here, it shows that Spyro and Cinder have a great chemistry. Actually, their relationship is technically the best of the series. Is better than Spyro and Stealth Elf or a Raptor or Pop Fizz, or in a way even Master Aeon. But so man, you know what? I'm freaking. If it's gonna take long, I don't care, because man, that I absolutely really want this to take advantage. That this is a relationship that it had a lot of potential. How Spyro let her realize that she had to let go, use her power, even though she doesn't feel like she doesn't want to hurt anyone. But then it becomes even more apparent when after an attack of Grievous, she kind of begins to think that no, I think there is something on the side of evil and something like that. But Spyro's like, no, evil is evil, good is good, and that began to piss her off. And she later revealed that she is the daughter of the evil Dragon King Malefor, which kind of contradicts in Legend of Spyro, because in Legend of Spyro she isn't the daughter, she's kind of like a kidnapped daughter. But no matter, I'll take that as it will. That she wanted, well, technically she was born in the realms of evil, and she becomes afraid that she's going to be branded as evil, and so she pissed off. She runs off, and well, they begin to reveal that, man, she's the daughter of Malefor. And so that's big, because if she goes to Malefor, she probably is gonna be the successor of a big threat like evil and something like that. And yeah, Spyro feels responsible for it. And I absolutely love that, because that's one of the best part also on the Legend of Spyro games, in which Cinder is kind of like one of the characters with the best backstories. In Legend of Spyro, she was kidnapped as an egg and then raised by the Dark Master, in this case Malefor, who then teaches her to become evil and being in line with the Dark Forces. So so after Spyro defeats her, she kind of begins to see the error of her ways, but still she had to deal with the consequences that she did on the past and her alignment. That is something a little bit simplified in the Skylanders universe, but it's still great. I'm ashamed that Activision doesn't see that. Even in Skylanders Academy, she has the best backstory, the most interesting of them all. And yeah, they go to rescue her, and finally we see the Skylanders Academy version of Malefor, which I like it. He doesn't look as terrifying as the video game, but at least it's not as wildly metallic or robotic like they did on the comic. Yeah, there was a comic about that. But man, that it brings out one of the best moments of Skylanders Academy, in which is Spyro recognizing his error, and probably one of the most touching moments of the series, in which Spyro say that you have the choice to choose where you want to go. You have the choice to be good or evil. And when Cinder asks, "Do you really believe that?" Spyro said, "Yeah, I learned that because I met you." I absolutely love that line, and the line that comes up with. It's so powerful, and it's shown that it's well written. And before they go, of course, Malefor then reveals that he knows about Spyro's ancestors, his family, and he has a huge grudge against them. But long story short, Cinder managed to rescue Spyro. They get away, and she passed the entrance test. And yeah, that's technically the whole thing I have to say about this episode. I know that I kind of spoiled it a lot, and it went too long compared to others, but I had to release that that joy about how happy it made me this episode. Really, really adore it. Adore it. Even so much that I forgot to tell you that there was a little bit of a B plot which involved Chaos and the Tomb Raiders doing meager evil pranks, and much of Chaos chagrin, only to learn from Chumpy Mish that Golden Queen, she doesn't feel confident on herself after her defeat from Cassandra and Lilith in the last season. And so Chaos had to encourage her. That thing kind of like sideways, but it is fitting enough at least. but I will always remember this episode, and every time I watch Skylanders Academy, I always come back to this episode and watch it over and over again. Because it's the only episode that took advantage of Spyro and Cinder and Malefor. Why you're torturing me like that, Activision? Why didn't you take advantage of that? How do we follow probably the best episode of the series? How about one of the lamest episodes of the series? I'm gonna repeat that every time I see an episode that focuses on Stealth Elf. Yep, we go to that one, and she had to drag along Spyro. This is technically kind of like a Thanksgiving special, because they're celebrating a holiday called Thanksgiving, which apparently it's because they're thankful that villains decide to give up bad duties in order to celebrate a dinner or something like that. So they decide to take a vacation out of it. So everybody leaves the academy, and the ones who decide to stay on the academy, they can do that, kind of like a campus vacation. And of course, nobody wants to take Spyro to their respective homes because, to put it in short, he's a pest. A pest that involves houses getting destroyed and lawsuits. So the only ones who stay at the academy is none other than Spyro and Stealth Elf, in which Stealth Elf decides to stay because she wants to take the time to hone on her ninja skills. And well, Spyro then persuades her to have some fun. There's this montage in which one of them makes a reference to Home Alone with the cologne scene, and because Spyro wanted to take the opportunity to know more about his ancestors, he convinced Stealth Elf to find a way to open the room, the relic room, and well, because he said that, hey, there's this great legendary sword that you would love to try it out in the relic room. So they go there, and unfortunately they get locked down. So technically, then the other half of the episode is then just being inside the room, trying to bond and trying to get out of that situation, because the security system, who can talk and has an eye, he decides that he's gonna self-destruct the whole academy to protect the relic room. And that's technically it. I would have been more interested if the episode would have been only with Spyro. Stealth Elf, again, it's something about Stealth Elf that her blandness is kind of contagious. And I wasn't kind of interested. Nothing kind of funny happened. I didn't like it much. I felt disappointed. That's technically the biggest thing I have to this episode. Disappointment. The only thing that I could give it credit for this episode is how sassy that security system is. That security system always kind of up with sarcastic comments, and it's that kind of gives me a chuckle, which kind of rescues this movie from being mediocre in a way. And yeah, it is later revealed that Spyro wanted Stealth Elf because he didn't because he feels that if he finds something terrible from his ancestors, she's gonna be there to make him get ready for it. Which, in a way, is touching. I admit that. I gotta admit that that is kind of touching. Again, it is revealed that how can I say the book were about dragons where Cool happens some information about Spyro's ancestors. The pages are ripped. So he couldn't find anything. But somehow they have this touching mommy saying "Happy Thanksgiving" or something like that, and that was enough for the computer system to be touched and open the doors. Okay, that was kind of too convenient. Actually, the only thing that I kind of give a chuckle again is when it's revealed that the security system doesn't have this self-destruct system, and the computer system is like, I was kidding. Oh yeah, and there's also the B plot, which involved the Doom Raiders and Chaos in their Thanksgiving dinner, inviting this woolly couple, which they're kind of... I forgot to mention that this woolly couple has a running gag that it is kind of... Let's say that it is the Skylanders version of the Lockhorns. A very unhappily married couple. And, well, technically it's to make long story short, the dinner is a disaster. Mostly because Broccoli Guy do some stupid stuff and Chaos makes a horrendous dinner. And at the end, it's like, hey, we're evil, so this is a horrendous dinner. So technically, this is the best Thanksgiving dinner ever. So, well, let's say that their holiday has been saved by irony. The big thing that this episode introduces is that it introduces a new character named Sprocket, who, imagine if the character of Stealth Elf became kind of like a techno wizard. Well, but it's not a wizard. It's kind of like a robotic character that knows mechanics. And I gotta say that it took me a while, but I grew very fond of Sprocket. I will take Sprocket more than I can take Stealth Elf. But it's funny that her episode for introduction is not exactly an episode that revolves around her. The episode actually is about Eruptor, in which what happened is that Sprocket invented a grading system machine that is that could grade all the tests faster, efficiently, and so on. And as a test, she used the previous entrance exam. The previous test that the Skylanders did. I think it was from last year or something like that. And they find out that there were some mistakes in the scores. And they find out that Eruptor somehow got the highest test score, branding him as a genius. And nobody's like, oh, come on, he's not that of a genius. I mean, he is simple-minded. He doesn't even know how to play chess sometimes, and everyone's mesmerized. That is until it is realized that he is indeed a genius. He can come up with big solutions, big detective skills when he concentrates. But the problem is that Eruptor says that he doesn't use those skills because every time he goes into, let's say, a beautiful mind mode in which he sees everything so slow and meticulous and very observant, it gives him headaches. So Sprocket invent him some contact lenses in order to eliminate that problem. And then, Eruptor begins to see everything in slow motion. He becomes a genius. He becomes a detective. And that's technically the big thing out of it. And you know that... Remember that episode of The Simpsons in which it's shown that Homer is a genius, but he is stupid as hell because he has a crayon stuck in his brain. Let's say let's say that it goes a little bit onto that route, in which whenever there's a character who wasn't supposed to be a genius and then later shows his intellectual skills, it kind of becomes a little bit too pompous and and kind of a little bit of a jerk. That's the basic root that this episode has. Technically, well, the most interesting thing that happens in this episode is that we also have a little bit of B-plot that actually mesh up with the other one, in which Chaos it gets Broccoli Guy as his assistant. Sorry about that. And well, little that Chaos knows is that Broccoli Guy was put with Chaos only to serve him as an undercover spy for the Doom Raiders, so he can probably tell them where his lair is, where Cassandra's castle is. And at the same time, Broccoli Guy finally shows up why he's kind of also a danger to society. It's because he has this rod in which he can absorb the elements, and whenever he grows, he grows more powerful. And well, let's say that that this kind of proves that healing is not only his biggest power. Yeah, but then Chaos reveals that, I don't know where the lair is because it moves every time. So this is why you can't. This is kind of like a measure so the Skylanders doesn't track us. The only one who knows at this time is Glumshanks. Oops. So Broccoli Guy goes to targets Glumshanks. And, well, Chaos decides to save him because, well, it's his favorite punching bag. And yeah, we got Eruptor there. He kind of thinks that he can do everything by himself. He has a night with Spyro, and you know where this is going. I'm not gonna go too much into detail, but the point is that after Broccoli Guy is defeated thanks to the collaboration of the Skylanders, when Eruptor calls them for help, realizing that he shouldn't be so jerkish about it. Let's say that it ends up with Glumshanks thinking Chaos, but still in community college. Chaos tells Broccoli Guy that he's gonna plan to quit the Doom Raiders, and Eruptor decides that you know what, being a genius is nice and everything. I don't need those specs. I burn him out. That's the only thing I could say about this episode. I was amused. Nothing very special. I actually liked the previous Eruptor episode better. The one, you know, where he's calm. But this one kind of proves that, yeah, sometimes the genius can be a little bit jerkish. I just kind of wish that they could take advantage for a running gag that I absolutely love. I love that there was this gag in which Hugo tries to find out who is eating his cookies. And Eruptor said that, it was Jetpack. What? And Hugo, almost during a few moments of the episode, he kind of eyes and glares Jetpack like he's evil. He's kind of doing the, I'm watching you. I just wish that they could have pushed that joke a little bit farther. Just in time for Halloween, we got well, I wouldn't say a scary episode, but it kind of comes close to that. Although, don't get me wrong, I like this episode, but I find this episode kind of one of the most unintentionally hilarious episodes there is. This episode involves Hex and Skull, which are Skylanders that failed the test, the Skylanders test on the last season, the first episode. And let's say that she's the black Godzilla like woman with a skull floating in a crystal orb. What happens in this episode is that the Skull, her familiar, is getting tired of her. Is tired of her commanding him. He feels that she's not. Let's say that he feels like that he's just a tool. He's gonna be dropped out every moment, anytime soon. I'm sorry about to say that. He feels underappreciated, so he say that, well, I know this spell. I know this spell that's gonna release me from this orb. So he gets released from his orb, but little that he knows is that when he releases his orb, the evil on her, because she's an undead Skylander who also controls darkness, it takes over. It takes over her, and her eyes turn black, and then she begins to infect all the other people in the academy. Every time when she touches them, it turns them into black-eyed zombies, let's say. And yeah, it's something evil. It's evil. And well, when Mr. Aeon tells Skull that he shouldn't have done that, it's up to the Skylanders to save the day. Why do I think this is... Why something, a plot like that makes me kind of unintentionally laugh? Well, let's say that during the way she infects the others is by hugging them. And there was this moment in which the zombies, they began to chant, "Hug us, hug us, hug us." Please give the pitch of this plot to John M. Vasquez, because I wasn't sure if I was watching a Skylanders episode or an Invader Sim episode, because I know that Invader Sim, they had a canceled episode about a monstrous alien who wants to hug the world until it gets destroyed. But I'm sorry, but zombies saying hug us? I can't take it seriously. Oh man. You just see it for yourself. I know you might not find it funny, but personally I did find it unintentionally funny. And speaking of funny, there's also this B-plot that while this mayhem is happening, the Doom Raiders organize a roasting party for Chaos. So Chaos is in this party in which he's the guest of honor, but he doesn't know what a roast is. And we also have Glumshanks as the host, but he doesn't want to be recognized by Chaos, so he just put a paper bag on top of his head. And you know what? The roasting lines are actually hilarious. They're really funny. And of course, because we know Chaos, he doesn't take it so kindly, and he uses upgraded powers to cause mayhem, destroy the whole party. And so he feels that, okay, I'm done with this, I'm quitting the Doom Raiders, I'm out. And he leaves, not knowing that Glumshanks was the one hosting the roast. Ah man, that's the good thing about this episode. If you're not gonna laughing of the hugging zombies, you're gonna be laughing of the roasting party, which kind of remind me of that episode of American Dad where Roger decides to have a vendetta against the family because of the roasting party, because he also didn't know what a roasting party is. But then, of course, yeah, the solution is solved because Skull knows the incantation to bring Hex back to normal. And yeah, after everything is solved, we get a good scene. We get a good touching scene with her and Skull. Too bad that these characters are kind of secondary. But when I think about it, it's best for them to stay that way. Sometimes kind of proving that even secondary characters need at least one episode or two to give them a little bit of character, even if they're going to appear at least once. This is probably what I consider my second favorite episode of Season 2. Because if there's not an episode that involves Spyro and Cinder showing her amazing chemistry, I think I can handle also Pop Fizz being the center of attention, because Again, he is hilarious, and Bobcat Goldthwait is golden every time he shows up at Pop Fizz. So, what is Pop Fizz up to this time? Well, he's showing his crazy lunatic side of him by being irresponsible, by testing everything where he shouldn't do, forgetting to bring money to buy things, leaving all things to his potions, dropping things everywhere. The usually responsible, lovable self about him. But he gets in hot water after he gets accused of robbery on a bank. And well, because there's his bottles, his beakers are all over the place, and it was shown that to be near the bank with his fur, he is convicted. He's arrested. He and kind of the first half of the episode, it is him on trial. And unfortunately, the episode didn't take the advantage to make Phoenix Wright or Danganronpa jokes. But still, you're gonna feel amused at the whole thing, especially all the crazy things that Pop Fizz says. Again, he is a crazy character, but he's lovable. I just can't help loving this guy. And technically, that's all pretty much I have to say, because the more I go on with the episode, I'm gonna be ruining what is it about. But to make things short, he's found guilty and sent to jail, and it's up to the other to prove that he is really innocent. And most of this is thanks to Sprocket, who kind of act like the MS Sky of the whole group. And I'm not gonna exactly reveal who was the real culprit, but let's say that is someone who took advantage of Pop Fizz's irresponsibility. But then we also have the B plot, which is also hilarious. And the B plot is that Chaos wants Glumshanks out of community college, but of course he refuses. So the best way to get him out is to try to expel him. So Chaos takes advantage when Hugo decides to leave the class to Glumshanks because he's gonna serve as Pop Fizz's defense attorney in the trial. But of course, Chaos sneaks into the classroom, and he plays like a bad student in order to make Glumshanks feel miserable. And man, that he comes up with some hilarious moments. Probably the best part is that, much to Glumshanks' chagrin, he wants to show a movie to everyone. But Chaos destroys the projector and say, "Hey, I got a better movie. I'm gonna project it from my head, my favorite movie. On Silence of the Lambs." Yeah, we got a Silence of the Lambs reference, which includes a sheep with the mask in which Hannibal Lecter has in that iconic moment in the movie. Yeah, and there's two instances in which we see the iconic moment of Silence of the Lamb. That kind of makes me want to watch the movie. I want to see the sheep version of Silence of the Lambs with Hannibal Lecter, Anthony Hopkins sheep. That would be hilarious. But yeah, and all this scene leads to a classroom disaster, and when Hugo comes back, he finds out, oh no, this is horrible. Why this guy is using a smartphone during class? Why this guy, Chaos, is not a student. But the biggest offense of them all is that you're showing a movie of sheep! Because Hugo fears shit. So Glumshanks is expelled. And Chaos now plots to try to get on his mother's good side. Because if you remember, Chaos betrayed his mother. Now he's gonna try to put her on her good side. But that's technically what I can say about this episode. The whole thing gets resolved, and Pop Fizz promised to become more responsible. Even overnight. Master Eon feels rusty on his fighting skills, so he goes to our main cast to have some training. But unfortunately, the whole island gets quarantined because it has been analyzed that someone is having a virus. So they decide to quarantine the whole thing until everything is good and dandy. But of course, it is obvious to see that it was Master Eon, the one who was sick. And so the whole episode is the other Skylanders trying to avoid Aeon. Well, that's the typical thing, but it pushes a little bit in the second half when everyone eventually gets sick with the flu. And because everyone is in quarantine, everyone is sick, Spyro decides to take the opportunity to try to make Master Aeon confess everything about Spyro's ancestor, which during the whole episode he is refusing to tell him answers about that, much to Master Aeon's total annoyance and all this stuff. That's technically the basic I can say about this episode, but I'll say that it leads to one great moment in this episode, and that is that Spyro challenges Master Eon, saying that, hey, if I defeat, you're here to train with us, right? So how about this? If I defeat you, you're gonna tell me everything. Okay, but if I defeat you, you're gonna stop asking me. Deal? Deal. And probably we get a battle that could have been awesome if they weren't sick with the flu. But it's still awesome. It was a good battle. But unfortunately, Spyro loses. And Aeon is like, okay, are we done? Good. So, and in this moment, Spyro realizes that he will not get answers from his ancestors from Aeon. He's gonna have to find the answer for himself, which is technically good. I mean, unfortunately, people refuse to tell you the truth. But I'll get to that in due time. And I'll say this, that it is later revealed that the flu came out late, and what was it? They get healed quickly. And why is that? Well, remember that I said many times in this review that Stealth Elf blandness is contagious? Well, apparently her flu also is, because apparently she had the flu, and while training with Master Eon, he touches him, and because of her metabolism, it either goes fast or slow, and then it heals itself quickly. That was weird in a way. Oh yeah, and there's also then the B plot, which involves Chaos trying to find a gift for his mother, and he goes to the pet show to find the perfect pet. That is when he gets an eye on a Hydra with multicolors, who, let's say that it looks less menacing than the one from the first Skylanders game. But still, I like the design of the Hydra. Again, I'm a big sucker for dragons, and they look good, in my opinion. Even though all four dragons, all four heads, I mean, they kind of talk like that somehow they round out the cast of Total Drama Island and into four heads. That's my personal thing. But long story short, of course, we got that Golden Queen she isn't sore about Chaos leaving the Doom Raiders. She's just there to be one of the judges. But Chaos ultimately steals and dominates the Hydra, and he and Glumshan fly to the lair. Little that he knows that Golden Queen put a tracking chip on the dragon to follow him. And that's technically what I can say about this episode. It's okay. It has some interesting development on Spyro and Aeon. I fucking hate this episode. I would leave it like that, but you probably might be curious to know why I fucking hate this episode. This is technically the one episode that I absolutely hate from the second season. Oh. To put it short, the reason I hate this episode is that it gives morals that are wrong. It feels inconsistent on what it was trying to say, but the biggest thing that I find about this episode is that it kind of make us deal that they say how can I say? It makes us feel comfortable with unfairness. This episode is really unfair. I hated everything about this episode. Well, except one thing, then I'll get to that, but it's a micro thing. Okay, where do I get this? So the episode is the Skylanders cadets. They are assigned with their senior advisors. So they show almost every cadet and every Skylander pairing up. But the only one who gets left behind is this Yosemite Sam-like Skylander known as Bad Breath. And well, he's left behind, and of course, nobody likes this character, not only because he's ugly, but because he burps and he stinks. I mean, no wonder why nobody likes him. But then, this banana-headed guy from last season, named Sai, comes, and he warns everyone that his master, the penguin from last season, also Kingpin, he's been captured by the fire drake from last season, and so they have to go to this Arctic island to save him. But Sai is kind of like the usual meager, annoying character, and the cadets kind of have a grudge against him. But except Bad Breath, who they befriend him. Maybe because the two bond of them because they're ostracized, they are annoying or something like that. That's kind of the least of the problems, I'll say. So they go to the Arctic island to try to save Kingpin, but the Skylanders and the cadets are all eaten. And apparently the cadets go into this mean-spirited strike against Sai, saying that it is kind of his fault that everything happened. First of all, why was his fault? He just came there. I mean, I know he's annoying or something like that, but man. And then Bad Breath kind of begins to say that, hey, he's a big he's a Skylander. He earned the Skylander badge, just like I did. 2 things. Here's my big nitpick. First of all, Sai didn't earn the Skylanders title. He didn't earn it. He was born with it. And that, I hate it. I hate when people have kind of like born privilege and they say that, yeah, he's amazing. He's kind of like the greatest part of the team because he was born with it. That's not only is not that interesting, but it kind of makes us feel that, hey, he was born with it. Deal with it. And it's not fair. I'll get to that. I'll say that either way. And then Bad Breath began to say that I know that because I could be a Skylander like you guys. Let me remind that Bad Breath did have the Skylanders title, but in the first episode. But he puts out. He ran away. So now he is complaining? He's now complaining that he's not a Skylander? He was! You just run away! That was bullshit. Total bullshit. And then comes this scene in which apparently the cadets kind of make a point. Why that Sai became a Skylander? He didn't do any effort. He didn't have to go to all the hardships that he's doing and all this stuff. So there was a kind of like an air of jealousy in them. I mean, yeah, it could have been easily fixed if they could address that problem a little bit earlier or better written. But Spyro come up and say that, yeah, we do it in different forms. I mean, I was kind of like let's say that I didn't pass the test, but the people believe in me. The people believe in me. Stealth Elf kind of was there for me and all this stuff. Some bullshit that they come and they say that, yeah, he was kind of like a jerkish guy, and they say that you have to give them a chance to prove them. What chance? Bullshit! Again! Sonny didn't do shit! He's just an imaginator! He was born with it! He was born in it! He didn't earn it! He went for the easy route! And that's... I mean, the cadet had a point! I mean that, yeah, it's bad to be jealous, but not like that, especially when you have a character who didn't earn it. And let me remind you again that Bad Breath, he earned it, but he ran away. So don't come up with that bullshit. Sorry, I'm insulting this episode. Probably the more I think about it, I think this is a more mean-spirited episode than the beard one from last season. Giving them a chance. Look. Unfortunately, this happens in real life. People sometimes are born with privileges or something, and they take them as granted. And yeah, we have to deal with it, with being friends and all this stuff. But still, it still doesn't address that. It's still unfair for the others. It's fair for the others. We all have different paths, but at least address them very well. When I rewatched this episode, I felt disgusted. But at the same time, it made me remind me of that moment of Naruto. The good seasons, let's say, the early season, the Chunin XM. There was this moment in which we have this... the moment that I'm talking about is none other than Naruto versus Neji. Because Naruto is kind of like the guy who went for the hard road. And Neji is technically the privileged guy, but of course that it was written very well at that moment, because Neji was, not only he was privileged, but he started to think that his life can change, his fate cannot be changed and all this stuff. But Naruto proved him wrong. Naruto proved him that he worked hard and he best him. And Naruto tells him, I've been working with the things that I didn't like, and I became better with them. So eventually, it became my favorite technique. So stop complaining, because unlike me, you're not a dropout. That, for some reason, it reminded me that. Which I find it much more significant on how to counter people who has privileges, or went to the easy route and gained everything easy. Which I cannot help saying how much it pisses me off at that episode. But let's wrap it up before I go into another rant that is gonna take long in this video, man. Okay, Kingpin apparently on his while being woozed by the heat, he tells Spyro that he knows about the Great War, but then he denies it. They managed to beat the Fire Viper, the Fire Drake, the Fire Viper. I mean, thanks to well, Bad Breath. And the whole thing ends with Kingpin warning Aeon about Spyro, that he probably might search for the answer. He must be ready for it. And there's also the B-plot in which Chaos returns home, much to Cassandra's anger, in which she wants nothing to do with him, and Chaos trying to find ways to earn her love, because bringing the Hydra didn't work out well. So the Hydra just stayed there. Glumshanks even destroys the tracking ship, because that plot point when they needed to remove it once for all. And also the only important thing that this episode has is that, remember that in the previous previous seasons, and also during the whole season, it's been shown that Cassandra is trying to seal some kind of malicious evil being in her room with a book of dark arts. Well, she's growing weaker, and Chaos, in order to prove her love and loyalty, he decides to give her powers to her, which brings her back her trust. That's the only thing that this episode has. But everything else with the Skylanders and the cadets, I hate it. It's so because the cadets are right. What they happen is so unfair for them. It's unfair with Sai, who is a character who didn't deserve it, and well, Bad Breath. As much as I liked for him to become a little bit of a character, he complains on something that he's began to complain about something that, well, he didn't feel that he was ready, and when he earned it, he just quit, and now he's whining about it. And like I said, there's only one micro moment that I like, and that micro moment is actually on the beginning, when they're selecting which cadet wants who. I love how Cinder just say, "Hi, shotgun, Spyro," and their fist bumps. It was actually cute. But everything else is just garbage. Jetpack's self-esteem is shattered when he gets another one of his usual embarrassing experiences. Using his running gag, whenever he gets scared or surprised or fear or having this moment of fear, he always poops out eggs. And apparently, every time he poops out an egg, he collects that egg and puts them on a collection where it reminds him of all those embarrassing, fearful moments that makes him feel bad because he just wants to be as strong as his father, who was very strict and militaristic. So he kind of begins to doubt his leadership skills, even though he's not the leader. But nevertheless, the Skyliner trying to make him feel better. But eventually his latest egg somehow hatches a baby, and Jetpack, well, at first surprised, he decides to take duty on taking care of the baby. And little that he knows, or maybe he knows a little bit, is that the baby is naturally evil. He does some dangerous pranks here and there. He's kind of so technically he's raising a demon baby. And for the most part, I gotta say that this is probably one of the best Jetpack episodes there is. I'm surprised that for a character that I previously complained about being not too interesting, or he kind of comes up as making a good episode out of it, and it shows where his personality comes from. He is trying to be a good leader, or someone that you can rely on, because he just has expectations to appease his father, who was in the military. And that is something that is technically good on it. And yeah, we have the usual denial that he doesn't want to. He denies that the baby's evil, but everyone's telling, dude, this baby is demonic. We even have a very funny moment of Hugo trying to ward off the baby with a spray, and he just comes up with saying, "The power of Eon compels you. The power of Eon compels you." To compel what? I don't even know. Yeah, there is a Exorcist reference. You can hear me out. But it's funny that there's also the B plot that also feels a little bit in that familiar territory. And this one is that now that Chaos has returned home, and now he's on his usual status quo with his mother, he thinks that he has to. He still wants to earn his mother's trust enough to reveal him all the secret dark magic out of her and all that stuff. So in order to get more love about her, he just decided to look for a photo of him and Cassandra together. But while looking at the picture, they found a book which says about Chaos' father. But much to their surprise, his father is Glumshanks? And that comes out like one of the best moments of the series. I mean, the expression of chaos and Glumshanks knowing that they're father and son, and then trying to bond like a kid and his father is hilarious. But don't worry, it is revealed that they're not father and son. Cassandra actually sneak in Glumshank's photo in order to distract him from looking for his real father. But unfortunately, that also made Chaos very curious. He wants to know about his father, but Cassandra is like, no, it's better not to tell you. I don't think you're ready for. But in which it's interesting because that kind of puts a little bit on the spectrum between Chaos and Spyro. Both now are eager to know about more about their past, their ancestor, their family, and that's pretty much the most important part of it. Well, again, back to Jetpack. Yeah, it is revealed that the baby was not Jetpack's. It was actually a family of Grievel who they bring him the real egg. I don't know why the eggs of Jetpack doesn't hatch. Is my big question. And actually, they're happy about how Jetpack raised him because he was feeling that he failed as a father. But he said, "No, that guy, no, our baby is really, really evil, and I thank you for that. So that means I didn't fail as a father. Ha ha ha! Take that, father." It's pretty funny how irony saves the day again. But, and also, you're gonna like the father and son music that they play in both instances of the episode. So the big evil entity that Cassandra was sealing finally gets its name. It is a being known as Strikewar. And this guy, he enters Dreamcatcher's dreams and tells her the location of Cassandra in the hopes that he's going to be released from his prison, let's say. So, while leading the Doom Raiders to Cassandra's castle, unfortunately things get delayed when Stealth Elf with her chopper knocks down Dreamcatcher and gives her amnesia. Yep, we got a second amnesia episode. First the Popsicle Fist episode, and now with Dreamcatcher. Although in this one, the Skylanders want to take advantage of her amnesia to reform her back to when she was a Skylander cadet. But in order to make her trust everyone and make the others also trust her, they enlist her to play sheepball, which is technically football. But instead of a ball, we got a sheep. And at first, the cadets are not very sure to trust her as a teammate. But eventually they do when they realize that she can play very well sheepball, despite just being ahead. I don't know if I was intentionally making that pun and all this stuff. I wish I could have liked this episode a little bit more, but there was this instance which kind of prove that this episode could have been more, but this idiots of Activision or whatever they're doing the series, they didn't take advantage of that. The moment is that after Eruptor tells them that they have to work out as a team, and Dreamcatcher and her amnesia saying that she just want to that she doesn't know why she's evil but wants everyone to trust her. They lose the advantage of having Cinder along the ride. Because Cinder, she just say that, I have been labeled as evil and I know how it feels. And that is a moment that I think they should have picked on. But they didn't. They just only used it for that line, and then all this is whisked away. And honestly, I think that this is... Remember that I said that the thing that I love about bringing Cinder to the Skylanders world? That was the moment that they feel they was missing. They didn't take advantage of that. And this is proof of why I felt both satisfied, but at the same time unsatisfied. Okay, but continuing on, yeah, they play sheepball against others, and they're at first winning, but in the big game, uh, uh, the Doom Raiders attacked because they got one Dreamcatcher who knows where Cassandra's castle is, and at the same. Well, unfortunately, again, you know, the cure for amnesia is a knock on the head. She goes back being evil, and they get away. But at the same time, something happened before, in which, before anything of this happened, Dreamcatcher kind of had another nightmare with Strikor, but this time in front of Stealth Elf. And she mentions the name, and Stealth is like, it goes to ask Master Aeon, and he's like, I don't know, la 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 la. So Stealth tells Spyro, you know, dude, you were right. Master Aeon actually is hiding something. The other B-plot doesn't do too much until the end of the episode. The B-plot actually is that Chaos is going to have dinner with Cassandra. And almost at the end of the episode, she's about to tell him everything. This kind of proves that for at least Cassandra was taking much better responsibility than Aeon himself, in which she was about to tell him everything, even giving him back his powers. But before she do that, the Doom Raiders invade the house. Cassandra turned into gold, and Chaos and Glumshanks are taken prisoners. See, like I said, but a long shot is a waste of an episode. They waste something very that they could have taken advantage of. I'm sorry, even that little thing about Cinder kind of rubs me in the wrong way. But I won't deny that this episode is a little bit of a start of things that are going to happen in the next couple of episodes. The technology on the Skylands are going crazy, apparently because some dark forces are tweaking into that technology. And the best one to solve the situation is Sprocket. But this also makes her butt head with Jetpack, who apparently Jetpack thinks that he is the most capable on dealing with the technology, but because he's a little bit too old-fashioned and all these stuff, yet he feels like he's not good enough for technology and to lead things that are revolving technology. So there's kind of like a jealousy between him and Sprocket, who is younger and spunky, let's say, and she knows how to solve situations better, quick and efficient, because, well, technically she's the best engineer in it. And this is probably, I could say that it's one of the best part of this episode. It's funny how a good chemistry we had with Jetpack and Sprocket at that moment. Because I kind of begin to understand the frustration of Jetpack. I mean, he later says that, oh my god, the technology thing kind of drives me angry. Every time it's upgrade, and I can't deal with it. I feel useless. So I really begin to like that dynamic. And also we got Sprocket kind of a bit pissed off by saying, dude, what is your problem? Deal with it. It's something like a battle between an old generation and a new generation. That's the best thing I can pinpoint from this episode. And all the while, they're trying to solve a problem with the technology that goes haywire in Skylands. Like I said, I mean, the jail cells from the prison are going crazy. The portals to the Citadel of Light, where the Core of Light is, are revealing themselves and putting themselves at risk. So all is fine and dandy. A little bit kind of mesmerized, saying that there was a bit of touch of magic in the technology, because I kind of didn't understand that. But let's say that the whole thing is resolved when they use Jetpack's eggs, kind of like Katsui, kind of like a Yoshi used an egg. He just used them to blow up, because whenever those eggs blows up, there's magic powder in it. That was kind of crazy. And honestly, that's all I have to say about the jetpack point. But two things that are more important happen in this episode. And these things kind of happen during the episode and after the final minutes of the episode. Let's go with one of the moments. The B plot, which is Chaos trying to find a way to rescue his mother now that the house is taken by the Doom Raiders. So Glumshanks tells Chaos that he has to go to the room where the book is and say an incantation in order to regain some of his powers and kick out the Doom Raiders. And after he sneaks in with the help of Glumshanks, he finds the book. And while trying to open it, he is confronted by the evil thing, Strikor, and he reveals that he is Chaos' father. And the episode ends there, but I also want to tell you that this one starts out one of the most heartbreaking moments of the series, in which Spyro finally is fed up with all the mystery of Aeon, and he say that, dude, I know you're hiding something. You don't trust me, so if you're not gonna tell me you don't trust me, why the hell am I a Skylander? So I'm leaving. At this point, Aeon is like, alright, fine. I'll tell you everything. What happens is that Aeon reveals that the evil being is called Strikor. Strikor was kind of like an evil wizard who wanted to destroy. I think he wanted to destroy the world, to dominate the world in more cruel ways than any other villain, let's say. And he was a threat. And technically, Spyro's ancestors and family, they were good. They were guardians. They were defenders of good. But unfortunately, when Stryker came, his whole family and dragons were corrupted. So Master Aeon, he had no choice to create a spell to banish all these dragons and even Strikor to somewhere, something that he doesn't even know where they are. So Spyro is understandably horrified that Aeon is responsible for the extinction and the banishment of his family. So Spyro's heartbroken. He quits and he goes away. This in a way proves that even when things hurt, you keep it and you don't prepare for giving the biggest emotion, it will explode. And in a way, that was Aeon's biggest mistake. Keeping an important secret to Spyro. And this led to Spyro having this crisis on his emotion. Well, talk about... You think that things can't get any worse? It does! For the Season 2 finale, this is bigger than the last season. Because wow, that everything that you think is gonna get worse and worse, it does. I repeat that again. But anyway, if you remember, last episode, Spyro quit the Skylanders and he decides that he just wants to find his ancestors / family on his own. And the only one who probably has a clue about it is none other than Malefor. But of course, Malefor is still sore that he took Cinder from him, and again, he has his grudge against his family. So we get this battle that, man, that it was epic. But unfortunately, Spyro loses and he's taken hostage. And Malefor announced the Academy that he holds Spyro as a hostage, and as a ransom, he wants Cinder back. So it's up to the Skylanders plus Cinder to try to rescue Spyro. But before that, we also had to deal that in the meantime, Chaos is confronted by Strikor, in which Strikor tells him that he was betrayed by his wife, Chaos' mother, Cassandra, who, while he was on the top of almost ruling the world, she backstabbed him, and because Chaos, you know that he admires evil and all that. He is dumbfounded. Because that his mother do good instead of evil, like he always expected. So Strikor decided that, okay, then free me and you will rule by my side. So Chaos gets power. He gets his power. He gets power enough to kick the Doom Raiders out and free his mother. But Chaos is hurt that his mother tried to hide all these facts. But Cassandra is like, no, you don't understand. There's something more than that. But unfortunately, Chaos is hurt to the point that he just absorbs all of Cassandra's powers, which includes the powers that he had before. So technically, yeah, Cassandra is weak, and nothing can be done. Chaos has big powers now. But now there's only one thing left. He had to release Strikor. But unfortunately for that, Strikor needs someone brave and noble to absorb the light in them, because he had the power to absorb light. So Chaos decided to take the opportunity of Malefor to make a deal in which Malefor gives Spyro to Chaos. And that happens because, in a way, Malefor feels that he's gonna be in a win-win situation. First of all, he's gonna be on Striker's good side, and he's gonna get rid of Spyro, which is kind of something that he hates, and he's also gonna get Cinder. In which, eventually, that happens. The Skylanders go to find the Skylanders plus Cinder. They go to confront Malefor, but unfortunately, Spyro was already taken. And Malefor escapes after, of course, taking Cinder. So Cinder is captured, and everyone doesn't know what to do. As for Spyro, his light is absorbed by Strikor, and Strikor is released. Well, let's say that Strikor, he kind of looks like an Aeon, but without a beard. And darker, of course. But for some reason, he kinda, I don't know why, but his face kinda makes me feel that he came from a Will Vinton cartoon. I don't know why. Oh, and by the way, Will Vinton, rest in peace. And without that things happening, Cassandra managed to escape with the Hydra, thanks to Glumshanks. And Glumshanks says that he's gonna stay undercover to find out what they're scheming and all this stuff. And Spyro, no, he didn't die. Something worse. Spyro, without his light, he became evil with another voice actor. And officially, he turned into Dark Spyro. Dark Spyro is another staple of the Spyro mythos, let's say. It's not in the original, but in the Legend of Spyro mythos, Spyro also has dark power, let's say, and he can turn into Dark Spyro, which is kind of like a stronger but malicious version of himself. And yeah, Skylanders also has that, and that's what we got, Dark Spyro. And the whole episode ends with Cassandra joining forces with Master Aeon, and with all the Skylanders and the cadets worry about the things that are coming. I mean, man, that things get bad fast. Striker returns, Spyro is Dark Spyro, Cinder is captured by Malefor. I'm worried, I'm getting worried, but mostly about Spyro and Cinder. But why do I get the feeling that they're gonna ignore Cinder, considering that I don't know, they just wanted to push those five things. And the episode ends with Master Aeon revealing that in his forehead, he also has the birthmarks that Chaos has on his forehead. And then the episode ends. If you want the answers, we had to wait a year for season 3. Oh my... To summarize, season 2 came out a little bit better than season 1. But I mostly say this because they introduced Cinder, and I was actually hoping that they took advantage of her because, like I said when I was revealing about her the best episode, she's kind of like the best part of the whole Spyro mythos, and it saddens me that they didn't take advantage of that. But besides the Spyro Cinder Malifaux thing, the other episodes were actually much better written than the others. It gives us insight of most of the other characters. For the most part, let's say. Jetpack kind of come off as being a character that they improve on his likability. Stealth Elf is still the same boring character that there is. But the biggest crust that this season has is the interest on finding out more about Spyro and the whole mistake of Aeon trying to keep everything from him, which personally is a big mistake. Lies and secrets eventually will come out, and when they come out and you're not ready for it, things get worse. And especially I kind of like how the whole Spyro arc kind of begins to mesh up and little by little with Chaos. So these characters are both similar but also alike. That I actually really like. Sprocket, it took me a while, but she was a good character. Again, I said that I would take Sprocket more than Elf. But of course, I can't say that this season was brilliant. The belly of the beast and the dream with Ninjini are some of the worst episodes of this series. The dream of Ninjini, I could brush it off as a boring episode, but unfortunately, the belly of the beast, it was terrible as hell. But I still think, but again, I thank Season 2 for giving us Return to Cinder, which is the best episode there is. I don't care what anyone says, this still is my favorite episode there is. And I hope that Activision and Blizzard cool come to their senses and find out the good things that this bring out, even from Legend of Spyro. Up to this point, I haven't seen Season 3. And now I'm ready for it. And you know what? I'm afraid. I'm afraid because knowing how these kind of family-friendly shows goes and the kind of narrative that it has, especially on this shows that kind of look like Nickelodeon, I think they're gonna make decisions that I'm not gonna be happy. Usually number 3 is technically the curse of any franchise. I'm afraid, guys. I'm very afraid.